Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Health is Wealth. I am your host, Shabnam Riaz. How are you on this Saturday evening? Hoping that you're having a great start to the weekend. And, you know, we're having rain in most parts of the country, so many people are probably enjoying that as well before the spring comes in. And then, of course, the summer months here in Pakistan. Okay, so today we are going to talk about podiatric medicine, foot and ankle. And you may remember that we have had a few, programs on diabetic foot, and we've also been able to talk about why it is so important to look after your feet, because after all, they tend to be a bit neglected whether you're diabetic or not. So we're very, very happy to have with us in the studios today. For the first time, we have Dr. Martin James, who's a consultant podiatrist. You've been working in Ireland. You're working in Ireland and the UK, involved in education and linked to the Royal College of Physicians and UK, and also the founder of Firefly. Thank you very much for joining us here today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the invite.
Likewise, and we're really looking forward to talking to you and learning about your first time experience in Pakistan.
Absolutely. It's been a really exciting, pleasurable trip so far. So
right.
I'm very happy to talk about that.
From you. Thank you so much. Okay, and seated next to Dr. Martin is Dr. Aisha Vajahat, who's also a specialist podiatrist. Aisha, lovely to see you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Our pleasure. And Dr. Usama Khalid, who's also a specialist podiatrist, and you've also been on the show before, so we're going to have some updates from both of you.
Absolutely.
Okay, looking forward. Okay, now, Dr. Martin, if I could, start with you, and let's talk about, we're just going slightly off topic here. When you heard about coming to Pakistan, what were your thoughts there?
Well, the media in terms of the Western world portrays Pakistan as potentially a risky place to visit. And some of my friends did make little comments about, oh, you're going to Pakistan. But I have to say, having arrived here, I have found it to be incredibly welcoming. I think the people have been really incredible. And it reminds me of Ireland. I mean, I am Irish, and Irish people are welcomed wherever they go around the world. And I've travelled extensively, and I have to say, I'm usually welcomed wherever I go, but the welcome that I've received in Pakistan has probably been one of the best welcomes I've ever received.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's
yes,
so heartening to know.
Yeah, so it's been really, really special. And, I thank my guests here who introduced me to Pakistan and have brought me along and have introduced me to a business community and to their families, and it's been really, really, really special.
Well, that's fantastic, and we're hoping you keep coming to Pakistan and have many future trips here as well, and also have you on the programme again and again.
Oh, thank you.
So that's great. Okay, now if I ask you, about a general question, sort of, if I asked you right now, is generally speaking, are we kind to our feet?
Well, on the whole, no, we aren't. Your feet are out of sight, so they're out of mind.
True.
Unlike for instance, dental colleagues, people like to have their teeth because it's visual, it's cosmetic, it looks good. So most people tend to ignore their feet until there's a problem.
Right.
And what we want to do is to try and get people to become more aware of their foot and ankle and maybe prevent some of the problems that can really cause debilitating challenges later in life.
Okay, right. So what expertise do you want to bring to Pakistan, and what's the vision right now?
Okay, well, the vision began with Dr. Aisha here, and she is a UK trained podiatrist, and she was the first trained podiatrist to come to Pakistan in 2013.
True.
And her mission and vision was to bring back an educational model to Pakistan, to train local Pakistani population to deliver the treatment. And when I heard this and listened to that vision, I just thought it inspired me to assist her and to help her. So our vision is to set up the first school of podiatric medicine in Pakistan, and this will be the first school of podiatric medicine in the Middle East and Asia.
That's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah,
that is absolutely massive.
Huge. Yeah.
And that's really exciting because you've got a population of 200 million people here. You've got 25% of that population with diabetes, and diabetes affects the lower limb significantly.
Right.
And there's a lot of amputations through diabetes in Pakistan.
That could be prevented.
That could be prevented with the right education.
Right.
So if we create an educational model, we can prevent some of these debilitating amputations. we can create a profession that young Pakistanis would be proud to be a part of.
True.
And that can influence the health of a nation.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. That's a great vision, Aisha.
Thank you.
And, because last time you were on the program, you also told us that you were the only podiatrist in Pakistan.
I was, yes.
Yeah. So this is really in the need of the hour.
It is indeed, and I would like to thank Dr. Martin for listening to me and coming to Pakistan and just being part of my journey. I really do appreciate that, and I would like to take this opportunity to actually thank him on this platform. So.
Yeah, and thanks from everyone here in Pakistan, because
Definitely.
exactly, once you have a healthy nation,
That's
then that's the foundation of any country and its people. Okay, so Aisha, tell us about your last visit to Pakistan, because you had some charity camps that were going on.
Definitely.
And when you were on the program, you had just arrived, and so we sort of want to know an update of what happened.
It was actually an overwhelming experience for us, and in span of 3 days we were able to see over 1,000 patients, so that part was overwhelming, and we were just like, we weren't expecting about 1,000 patients to turn up, and it was just overwhelming, like I said, and great. It was a great experience and an emotional experience as well.
It must have been. It must have been.
We were able to diagnose so many people with diabetes. So probably about 50 to 60% of the patients didn't even realize they had diabetes.
Really?
So that was...
And you diagnosed them because...
We were actually testing random glucose tests.
Okay. Now, right. Osama, that is a cause for concern, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, over at the camp, there were so many people who came over, and some of whom had no idea that they had diabetes. And just during our assessment, we realised, well, actually, these people and this population of people are already suffering the effects of long-term diabetes on their feet. And by doing various tests, by having medics on board, by doing random glucose testing, we're able to come to a full diagnosis that these people may have diabetes as such, and we then encourage them to go and visit their local doctors to get a full and proper diagnosis and to carry the treatment plan thereafter.
Right.
It was a fantastic trip. I mean, Aisha and I backed it. It was great fun, to be honest. Looking back, the response was overwhelming. It really was. There were so many people who came over, and we just snaked around the entire corridor. We're like, oh gosh, it's a lot of people. But I mean, we had loads of help. We had triage nurses that came and helped. We had admin staff that came in and clerked for us. We had 4 podiatrists. We had medics on board. It was just fantastic. It was really fantastic team that came together.
Fantastic.
I think there were a few challenges, absolutely. In terms of the challenges that we faced were being in the field, as it were. It was we didn't have all the kit because it was impossible to carry everything because we had no idea who's coming in with what. We took as much kit as we possibly could from the UK over to the two campsites, as it were. And I think it was really hard to kind of carry out all the care. I think what's disappointing is that we haven't had the follow-up care that we'd like to have had. So we saw a lot of people, brilliant. We helped them out in our capacity at that moment in time, brilliant. But in terms of follow-up care, we haven't quite got that just yet.
Okay.
So it was difficult to keep track. It was difficult to have an audit of what happened.
Right.
And that is something that we're hoping to now change and something that we learned from, I suppose.
Endorsed.
Endorsed, absolutely, yeah. So it's, I think that's one of the challenges that we faced as well.
Right. Okay.
The other thing was in terms of just resources as well, just fairly limited being on the field again.
Yeah.
I think we saw one particular case that I think had all the hallmarks of possibly osteomyelitis, which is infection of the bone, and this patient presented with effectively a small little hole in their foot, and that hole went straight down to bone, which can be very serious if not treated immediately.
Right.
It could be limb-threatening and indeed life-threatening.
So the main thing was, as you were diagnosing and you were treating, but the main thing was the education.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the education.
Yeah.
And the education bit was so important to us. So prior to coming to Pakistan to carry out these camps, I think the whole team and I, what we did was actually print out a lot of information sheets and education sheets written in the local language, so that people can take away and have a read of that and actually understand what to do.
With the language.
Ultimately, if you just verbalise it, people will forget. So we thought if we can provide almost like a little folder of information that they can then take away, they know what to do, who to contact, and how soon to access help and care.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I might just add one little point
Yeah.
that may be beneficial for the viewer.
Mm.
That diabetes, when we talk about diabetes, what it does is it affects very small blood vessels.
Right.
So it affects your eyes, your kidneys, and essentially your feet. And also what it affects is the nervous system. So you
Right.
actually then start to lose sensation in your feet. So, you know, sometimes people don't realize that they're losing the
Exactly,
sensation in their feet,
exactly.
and then that the circulation is poor, and that's
Right.
where the problems start.
But yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Should there be special footwear? I mean, diabetics, should they be, be really extra cautious about the footwear that they're using? Or is that something that everyone
Want to
should
talk
be?
about that?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Very important.
Just talking about footwear, especially if you're diabetic, well, it's fairly important that you wear footwear at all times, effectively. If you're out the house, in the house, it's important that you have something on your feet all the time. That's not just socks, but actual footwear that's going to protect your foot against the
Okay,
floor.
now that is really important, actually. Many people do sort of, especially because it's so hot,
Hot
in this,
today, I appreciate that, yeah.
part of the world,
weather.
that you'll find lots of people
Who are
going
walking around
with,
barefoot.
barefoot, yeah.
I think the culture is obviously, and the whole weather is different. The culture is different as well. So people are walking around on these tiled floors
right.
barefoot.
Yeah.
A few things. If you don't have adequate sensation in your feet, you can't feel things.
may
And
have
you
an
can't feel
injury.
things.
Yeah.
You sort of lose that motivation to seek help should things go wrong.
Okay,
So it's the
yes.
absence of pain that worries us, because pain is
Right.
motivated to seek help.
Absolutely.
And as soon as you can't feel things, people start to ignore the issue, and once the
Yeah.
issue is ignored, we end up with
It's a vicious
catastrophic
cycle.
problems. So it's a horrendous vicious cycle, absolutely, which is why
Yeah.
we say, especially if you can't feel things in your feet, and that's a very, very simple test that we can do. It's really important that you got something on your feet, because I mean, if you're walking around the kitchen, walking around just the bathroom or the living room, you have small bits of shards,
And this
kids'
is for
toys.
not just diabetic, but if you're not diabetic
Absolutely.
as well.
Well,
yeah?
if you're not diabetic, it's not that much of an issue as such. It's just
Yeah.
that because if you're not diabetic, we would assume they have an
You would-
intact sensation.
right, right.
And if you were to trod onto something, you can feel
You
it.
tell, yeah.
The only problem is if you are diabetic and you lose
Right.
that
Okay.
sensation.
So
it's
that is
more
really important information for a person who is diabetic when it gets very hot in our part of the world. Yes, you are sort of, it feels really soothing to walk on a cold marble floor, but then, you have to be very, very careful that you're not having an injury. So that's very, very important. Okay, now, Dr. Martin, if I could just come back to you. You're talking about setting up a first podiatry, medical centre here in Pakistan. What are the challenges? And for somebody who's watching this program, who is interested in this field, what's there to offer for them?
Well, our plan is to set up a centre of excellence, and the challenge is that we want to get that regulated at a council level, so that the education is really high quality. And what we plan to do then is have one school and then replicate that model throughout the rest of Pakistan.
Right.
At the moment, there are probably around about 150 medical colleges. There are approximately 120 physical therapy colleges, and there are probably about 60 dental colleges, and there are 0 podiatric medicine.
Right.
So the potential to roll this out exists. There is a huge need for it, and I
Right.
think that it can create a wonderful career structure for young Pakistanis to enter this profession and to
Right.
become a doctor of podiatric medicine.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, can you tell us a bit about, the different sort of things that are available for a person who comes to see you? When would a person need to come and see you? What would be going wrong?
Okay, that's a great question, because podiatric medicine offers a lot of services,
Okay.
and that ranges from just general routine foot care right through to podiatric surgery, which would be bone surgery of the foot and ankle.
Okay.
And in the middle of that, we can treat diabetic feet. We can also do a lot with sports medicine and orthopedics. So my specialism is more in sports medicine and orthopedics. And indeed, we do treat professional cricket players and professional soccer players. And our business in Ireland and the UK supplies a lot of premier soccer clubs and also professional tennis players. So within the field of sports, we have a huge role to play
Right.
in a multidisciplinary setting, and by that I mean working with doctors, orthopedic surgeons, sports medicine physicians, physiotherapists, PTs, all together to make
All complementing each
all
other.
complementing each other.
Right. Okay.
So there's a huge range there. We also do injection therapy.
What's the injection therapy? Is that the sports related, or is that for it?
Well, it could be sports related, or it could be simply orthopedics.
Okay.
So it's usually related to pain, and you're trying to treat someone that has pain and reduce pain and inflammation, so you can do specific steroid injections. Podiatrists are also able to prescribe medication, so we have a list of prescription medication that we can prescribe as well.
Right.
So it's quite a varied discipline. The other thing that's wonderful about it that actually attracted me when I was a young man was that you could work within a hospital setting and also work within the private capacity.
Right.
So you could do both, and then that gives you
Okay.
an opportunity to have a greater career structure.
Of
So
course.
it's wonderful.
Of course.
And actually the qualification allows you to travel to the UK, to Canada, America, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand. They're all a similar model. So it would be very good in the future to have Pakistani podiatric physicians traveling to these countries,
Exactly.
representing Pakistan.
And a future for them as well.
A
in
future
this.
for them.
Yeah, I think that's
Yes.
really important.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
Okay.
it really has significant potential, and that's why it's so exciting. I suppose our big challenge is to get a council regulated so that we can have high quality education.
Right, right, okay.
Would you agree?
That's the biggest challenge that
Yeah,
we are
well,
currently
well, I'm
facing.
sure that, you know, because of the passion that you all have and the reason that you're here, you'll definitely, where there's a will, there's a way, and you
There is a
definitely
way.
Absolutely.
wish you the best of luck in that. Okay, my sort of question is this, that, you know, if we're not having podiatrists in the country, so where are people going to when they're having their foot problems? What's going on?
Well, that is an interesting question, to be honest. So we've got people who perhaps are acting as podiatrists but haven't got the whole qualification of a podiatrist. I think from our research we've found that those who are visiting these salons and those who are doing pedicures are carrying out these, who are carrying out some degree of foot check really on these people. But
That's a scary thought.
that is a bit of a scary
Other
thought.
than that,
Because-
That is a bit of a scary thought because we haven't got trained professionals doing it. So,
Exactly, and,
I mean-
many of the beauty parlours here do not have, you know, they may be people who are not really trained in what they should know health-wise, you know. Sometimes we have sort of unhygienic conditions as well. Many
Definitely.
people catching fungal infections from
Absolutely, yeah.
from
In terms
pedicures.
of foot screening,
yeah.
as far as I'm aware, there is no sort of structure in place, even within the tertiary care hospitals. I think they're just training the technicians to do that for now, and maybe because doctors don't have the time, you see.
Right.
And when there is a problem, so when there is an ulcer, that's when that patient goes to either whoever he can access, basically. So it could be their general physician, could be a surgeon, could be a diabetologist. So there is no sort of structure in place or a referral pathway in place.
Yes, I think maybe the role for the pedicurists, there is a role, and it's
Yeah.
important to have that.
Have
And
that,
they
yeah,
do
yeah.
serve the community, and that's
Definitely.
positive. I think what we're really talking about is a more medical orientated profession, so that when someone has a specific problem,
Right.
potentially the pedicurist may refer to the podiatrist,
Definitely.
Okay.
and
Yeah.
therefore they start a diagnosis and a treatment plan.
Treatment plan.
And that's the key thing.
So again, we need awareness.
Awareness,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like when you have a tooth problem,
Yeah.
straight away you go to your dentist.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same. When there is a
Yeah.
foot and ankle issue, you go to your podiatrist.
True. True.
So that's what we are now trying to, and
Yeah.
like you said, we need to create awareness, we
Yeah.
need to educate people, and we need our students to go into podiatry, to go into podiatric medicine and become physicians and doctors of podiatric medicine, and then that's how it's going to roll out, and
Right.
that's how it's going to start, and that's our vision. And
That's great.
Yeah, and I think the
Fantastic.
vision is to create an international school. We want to bring visiting faculty from the UK, but also from the United States. And we hope that as it's going to be the first school in the Middle East and Asia, that this can be a platform to
That would
bring
be
international
wonderful.
students in from other countries.
Definitely from the neighbouring
Correct.
countries, region.
Yeah.
Correct. And
Yeah.
that is a big vision, again,
That is,
by
yeah.
Dr. Aisha here. And
Yeah.
it's a special vision because it creates a model that can be like global.
True, absolutely.
So it really is exciting.
so we want the best from Pakistan, so the
Yeah.
best podiatrists in the world.
That's
So that's
lovely.
what I'm
That's-
looking
That's
for.
fantastic, right.
A centre of excellence
You know, on
within
that, you can talk about a sort of a BSc honours programme, but you can also talk about a master's degree and then potentially a PhD.
Okay.
So that you create a career structure that allows people to come on and off like a conveyor belt. So
Okay.
somebody might take time out, they may have their family, they may decide to come back in and then study a master's degree.
So it's very flexible.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to
Absolutely,
create.
yeah.
And that works more for people, doesn't
Works
it? It's
more
more
for
practical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So what are the prerequisites if you want to get to become a podiatrist?
Similar to dental and
Okay.
MBBS.
Right.
So quite similar to that.
The sort of pre-sciences.
A-levels or pre-sciences,
Yeah, yeah, okay.
FSC.
Right,
Yeah.
fantastic. No, that's wonderful because, as you said, it's when you bring something forward, an issue forward, and people understand that there is a need for this,
Yeah, there is
then
a demand.
the sort of demand is
Yes.
there.
And then there's subspecialities in podiatric medicine as well. I'm currently doing my master's in foot and ankle surgery.
Okay.
So there is that route that our students will be able to take. There is an MSK route that they can take. So at the end of the degree, the students will then have a choice.
How long is the degree?
The degree will be about 3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years, okay. Right.
Yeah, we're exploring a model that might have 3+1, so 3 years based in Pakistan and 1 year based in the UK.
Okay.
And the
fantastic.
qualification will be a Pakistani qualification affiliated with the UK university,
Okay.
and more than likely the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons in Glasgow.
Wonderful.
And again, it's to give it the international kudos that it requires.
Right, right.
Other things that are quite interesting is that, I mean, in the UK, our company supplies the British military. So this is another area that podiatrists can work in.
So in
and-
fact, it's a huge avenue.
Huge.
There's a huge
I-
avenue.
And-
Again, when we talk about impressions, as you were speaking about coming to
Yes.
Pakistan and having a different impression,
Correct.
it's exactly the same
Correct.
thing if we
Yes.
talk about this. Because when we talk about podiatry, lots of people may not know, how much of a future you have in this avenue, in this part of the medical profession. So that's something, you should really research and, wishing you all the best of luck, hoping that this happens in Pakistan, you're able to carry on with this. And what better to be able to have this in Pakistan and
Yeah.
for people to, study that. That's
Creating
fantastic.
jobs.
Oh yeah,
That's
and then
another-
well-being because once you have something that people can recognise, then they actually understand that there's a problem that goes with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, what's happening is the problem is there, but it's being swept under the carpet
That's it.
because there's no way forward.
Yes, I think we will also, at the same time as setting up the educational model and this centre of excellence, we will set up a clinical services, and we plan to bring new technology in terms of foot scan diagnostics to Pakistan. And that in turn links to new technology around 3D printing. So the orthotics, which are the insoles that are made specifically for the foot, can now be manufactured using software and 3D printing. And certainly my vision is that we don't need these to be made in the United States or in the UK and shipped to Pakistan.
Right.
I believe we can set up a manufacturing plant in Pakistan.
Reducing costs.
Correct. Now,
Yeah.
you can send email files, STL files, etc., but the manufacture can be done here in the country using the latest technology.
Oh,
So-
that is really
Yeah.
something else to
Absolutely.
look forward
Again,
to.
creating jobs there as well. So
It
it's good.
helps the economy so much because in terms of currently this is happening in countries further afield like the UK, like the USA, and as soon as we ship stuff to other countries, the whole money part of it goes with it too. So when
Right.
the money is leaving Pakistan
Yeah.
and going to these countries, why don't we pull that money back into Pakistan,
Right.
create jobs, boost the economy? And in terms of having that international aspect of the School of Podiatric Medicine,
Yeah.
currently we've got all the neighbouring countries that neighbour Pakistan, like China, Afghanistan, India, all them students who are desperate to do podiatric
Oh,
medicine are
yes.
coming to the UK.
Yeah.
Our largest international student group in the UK are from India, are from Hong Kong and China, are from Canada. If we can get them
Right.
students into Pakistan,
That would be fantastic.
it'd be fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And we have that working relationship with their countries to build up
Absolutely.
clinical services in their countries. And that way, I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, and I think Pakistan is ideally positioned because it actually has a pretty good infrastructure that it can leapfrog other countries. So it's a young country with a young population, keen to be educated.
And so many people interested in the medical profession here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And ready, with an infrastructure that can really take, in the next 10, 15, 20 years, watch this country. It's going to be one of the key countries in this whole region, if not the world.
We hope so.
I
Lovely to
believe
hear you
it.
say
I
that.
believe it.
That's great, fantastic. Okay, what about, when we talk about the health of feet and ankle, is this a genetic thing as well? Do you find more problems in a particular part of the world? Is it also sort of made worse by being in a developing country? What are the factors that sort of, you know, compound things?
Well, there are certainly genetic components to it, and just the genetics may contribute to simply the anatomy of the foot.
Okay.
And the type of foot you're born with kind of
Right.
dictates how it functions and how it works.
Right.
So some people are born with a flat foot, for an example,
Exactly,
very
yeah.
flexible, low arch. Some people are born with a foot that's really high arch, and that creates a different loading on the foot and the ankle, and also on the
course.
knee, the hip, and the spine. So sometimes the genetic just anatomy of that foot will determine how somebody's knee functions or the loading on their spine. So sometimes these hip and spine problems can be related to the lower limb.
Right, okay.
Yes, and then there are other conditions such as neurological conditions, so spina bifida, cerebral palsy, and certainly in our clinics we treat a lot of pediatrics, a lot of children with cerebral palsy,
Okay.
and we use bracing to keep them mobile. And yeah, really that's what it's all about, is how do you keep people moving? And at the start you talked about health being the foundation of the country. Your feet are the foundation of your body.
True. And unfortunately so neglected.
So neglected, and it's
Yeah.
only when something goes wrong with your foot that you suddenly become aware of it.
Yeah.
And it is
And for
really,
many people, it will be, you know, if it starts with something that's not really troubling them, they're going to carry on with it. And then when they actually find it difficult to walk, then they're going to take
then they
notice.
seek, yeah. And that's when sometimes it's good advice on footwear, sometimes it's a specific treatment, sometimes it's strength and conditioning, things
Okay.
like that.
Right, okay. So you were talking about, you know, the 3D printing and the insole.
Yes.
What exactly is that?
So at the moment, one of the specialisms that podiatric medicine offers is custom-made insoles. Now we call them orthotics,
Okay.
and these are like prescription glasses.
Uh-huh.
So made for my eyes, these are made for my feet.
Okay.
And this is what we supply to the British military, but we also use it in diabetes and in all sorts of conditions to offload certain parts of the foot.
For the
and
pressure.
Yes.
sort of-
So they've been evolving software to CAD/CAM technology to make these products, but
Okay.
fundamentally they're still very much handmade. They're bespoke products.
Okay.
However, the software has evolved now to be able to be used in 3D printing machines, and 3D printing machines now are becoming commercial. Up until recently, they were quite just making prototypes, but HP have produced a machine that is commercial, it is industrial, and it can now make a significant number of these products that are all individually made for each foot, and it's becoming economically feasible to make these products on a large scale, and
Right.
that's what we're looking into, and we want to do it here.
Oh, right. Again, as you said, cutting the costs.
Correct?
For and then also, not only that, you could be supplying here in the region too,
Absolutely.
if it's not available anywhere else.
Yeah, again, you know, the first school in the entire region, that sets the opportunity. And again, thinking back to the number of medical colleges, dental colleges, PT colleges, we
Right.
surely could have 40 to 50 schools of podiatric medicine,
Right.
and then supply the whole region.
True. Absolutely. Do you think the media is doing enough in sort of highlighting this issue?
I think people like yourself need to sort of help us,
Well, you
and
are.
yeah, which you are, and we're sitting right here, so I can't disregard media at all. But we could do with more support,
Exactly.
definitely, to raise the awareness. Since it's a
Exactly.
new field, I think
Yeah.
we need to sort of raise more awareness, and if the media can help in that regard, what more can we want?
Exactly. Because, I mean, if you took a survey at the moment and just
Yeah.
generally asked a specific amount of the public as to if they knew what a podiatrist was, I don't think many people
Nobody would
really
know.
would.
They don't.
No.
Yeah?
And we're
Okay.
trying our best to do whatever we
And
can,
to raise
but
awareness of it.
Yeah.
to raise awareness.
And just to give you a time scale on that, I actually have qualified this June coming 30 years. And when I qualified in Ireland, I went to the United States and I worked there for a period of time. And when I came back to Ireland, I was one of the first people to use the term podiatrist.
I
That's
see.
30 years ago.
30 years
So
ago.
think about again this young country and what's
Yeah.
going to happen in the next 25, 30 years. And you will be leading this, both of you. And it's just such an opportunity for young people, but also for the need,
The need,
in
the
terms of the
nation.
treatment.
Okay. So with your stay here in Pakistan as well, what have you identified as the challenges?
I think the challenge, the first one that strikes me is the getting the recognition at a high level, at a government level, to create a council that in some way regulates the education. I think there's an opportunity to abuse it, and you could potentially set up schools that do not have the right high standards.
Right.
So coming as a sort of an international visitor, that's my immediate thing to look at, is like, how do you regulate this and get some governance in place and make sure that, number one, it is a Pakistani organization that regulates it
Right.
and oversees the educational model.
Okay.
Yeah.
So along with your expertise as well, bracing therapy, what's that?
Bracing therapy is really about connecting the lower leg to the foot. So it's
Okay.
an ankle brace.
And when do people need that?
Well, as an example, it might be something like cerebral palsy.
Okay.
It might be something like somebody has a stroke and then they suddenly have a foot drop. So again, it can go from treating young children right through to a senior citizen who's had a stroke. And there are certain ankle pathologies like arthritis that also respond to using the brace. And it's very effective when somebody maybe has diabetes and cannot have surgery. So it's a conservative treatment to keep them mobile.
Okay, right, okay. We'll get back to the programme. Right now we have to go for a break, but don't change
thank you.
channel. Okay, welcome back to the programme. We're having a great time talking about podiatric medicine, and we're learning so much from our experts who are here today. And, you know, very interesting, we've talked about many interesting sort of subjects coming along with this recording. And the reverse brain drain, that is something that I think is a huge achievement. How can this help in that?
Well, I think here is an example of the reverse brain drain.
True.
Dr. Aisha was trained in the UK and was the first podiatrist to come back to Pakistan in 2013. Maybe you would like to talk about your vision in terms of what you want to do in that reverse brain drain.
Yeah. So, like Martin said, I was the first podiatrist to come back to my country, my home country, back in 2013. And my vision, we've already discussed my vision, and it's still to bring podiatric medicine back to Pakistan, not just the clinical services, but also in form of an institute of podiatric medicine, and not just an ordinary institute. I'm looking at a centre of excellence and a prestige institute that would.
Yes, and I think this morning we had a cup of coffee, and Usama was talking about some of his friends who are Pakistanis who live in the UK, and you talked about the possibility of 5 to 10 colleagues wanting to come back to Pakistan if a clinical service was available, and that's what we're talking about doing. It's bringing them back.
Very, very exciting times, to be honest. I mean, the time for Pakistan has never been more pertinent than now. There are so many overseas Pakistanis, a bit like myself, really, who are desperate to come back to Pakistan and actually give service back to their home country.
Exactly.
And I was saying I've got many colleagues who are willing to leave the UK to come back to Pakistan.
That's
to
fantastic.
help build Pakistan. And in addition, we've actually got colleagues who aren't even Pakistani who are wishing to come back to Pakistan and set up a service in Pakistan. I think the whole demand is huge, absolutely humongous.
We've got Dr. Martin, who took a leap of faith as well, came to Pakistan.
Exactly.
And to share his expertise with us as well. So that it has a domino effect, doesn't it?
It really does. As soon as a few people go, the word gets out,
and I
more
think,
want to come back, and it just self-perpetuates like that.
And if people like Dr. Martin are willing to help, why not take that help and create something of our own?
It all makes a difference. Every little bit helps, at the end of the day. Yeah. So we were talking about your services for the military as well. How does that work out?
Well, it kind of works along the lines of, the British military is where I have the experience, and as I said, our company supplies them with products and services. And when you're in the military, you can have overuse injuries, and that can be just simply from training or on active service.
Right.
So some of the injuries would be things like arch pain. We call it plantar fasciitis. Sometimes
I'm not even going to try saying that.
Yes, okay, that's a technical one. Sometimes it could be stress fractures of the little bones in your foot. Sometimes even a stress fracture of your lower leg. Also knee injuries, and this can all be related to overtraining.
Okay.
So
it's in the sports injuries as well?
Correct, yes. Yeah. And we would work then closely with our medical colleagues and our physical therapists to provide strength and conditioning, but also footwear advice, military boot advice, and then orthotic devices that are made to reduce the loading on the lower limb. Right. So it's become really widely accepted in the UK. And indeed, we recently were in Dubai, and the Dubai police force are interested in our services there too. And why can't that be available for the Pakistani army?
Exactly, yeah.
One of the largest army in the world.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that would definitely be something that would be very helpful.
And I think we are, as a nation, quite proud of our army.
Definitely.
And everything that our army does for
absolutely.
For us
that would
citizens,
be fantastic. Okay, what is strength and conditioning?
Strength and conditioning is really about having strength in the muscles. So quite often, if you have very weak hip muscles, what happens is your knees tend to rotate in, your feet tend to rotate in, and this can give you foot and ankle pain, but that actually can originate from having weak hip muscles. So strength and conditioning is really about developing strength in muscle groups.
Okay.
Not only strength, but sometimes flexibility as well. And again, we have an expertise to be able to pass that on and work with our PT colleagues to just teach people how to develop simple exercises that maybe strengthen their hips and prevent a foot pain.
Okay, and with seeing that obesity is becoming not just a problem in Pakistan, but a global issue as well.
Yes.
How much of that influences, feet and ankles, of course?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of body weight, it's one of them things. If you're fairly large and fairly heavy, you're more likely to get foot pain, foot or ankle pain in particular. And in terms of what I recommend to my patients anyway, is always, have you considered losing a bit of weight? And in terms of, it's always a difficult conversation to be had, but you have to sort of meander the conversation quite carefully.
Yeah.
But you can have untold benefits really. It helps with diabetes and getting the blood sugar levels down to a decent level, gets them healthier. It can help with heel pain in particular. It tends to be, I think, the biggest cause for heel pain.
Even for diabetes as well,
It's just, them two in particular I can think of really help.
It's a win-win situation.
It's a win-win situation.
And it's a case of just teaching them small little tricks and small little tips that they can easily implement in their lives to help lose a few pounds. And them few pounds can make a really big difference to overall foot and ankle health.
Counselling those patients is the key, I think.
Yeah, because I think the minute you accept it in your mind that you have a problem, that's when you're going to do something about it. Otherwise, it's all that denial that's going on.
Yeah, I think an interesting thing that just has come into my mind is even something like mental health.
Yeah.
And that in terms of people being able to enjoy a walk and keeping moving has a significant impact on your mental health.
On your emotional.
As well as your cardiovascular health. So it's really quite important. Just to keep people moving.
That's so true. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the programme, so I'm being told, wind it up, okay?
Yes.
So before we go, we want a message from all three of you. Dr. Martin, from you.
Okay, well, I look forward to assisting and helping Dr. Aisha and Dr. Usama create their vision of a centre of excellence a training school of podiatric medicine, the first in the Middle East and Asia, here in Pakistan.
Fantastic. Dr. Aisha.
Yes, and I would probably like to give a take-home message more to do with the foot health. So please start looking after your feet and give importance to your feet and seek help before it's too late.
True.
So
True.
that would be my...
Very helpful, right?
I think for me, I think it's been an absolute pleasure to come back to Pakistan again. It really has. And
Wonderful.
I'm really passionate about bringing other overseas Pakistanis back to Pakistan to help build this country up, and so that this country becomes the envy of the world.
How wonderful. That's a lovely vision. Dr. Martin, Dr. Aisha, Dr. Osama, thank you very much for being
Thank
a
you
part
very
of the
much.
Thank you for
programme. We
having
really
us.
have enjoyed the recording, and we really have learnt so much from the three of you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Okay, and with that we come to the end of today's programme. Hope you have learnt as much as I have learnt from our experts who have been here today. And the message, general message, take-home message was, you know, keep happy, keep healthy, look after all your body. Please do not ignore your feet, because your feet is what's keeping you standing. So until next week, stay happy, stay healthy. Bye-bye.